brothers out there. I see Born in here. I see Dumb Bishop, third half. Welcome to the channel. Uh, the bar was the signs. This is this I don't think it's water though. I would I wouldn't say it's I wouldn't say it's water, but yeah, with the pulp. This is just some commercial stuff they whipped up. But it's decent. Oh, the t-shirt. Well, look, that's one of the things I've been working on. Besides the little beats here, I've been working on, getting all that back online. But it's getting set up. But right now, I'm working on a lot of things. Right, born. Yeah, it's a lot of sugar in there. It's enough sugar that I don't think we could call it water. Edward Green was the science. You know what I mean? But yeah, at the top of the show, I gotta give a shout out to my granddaughter. My granddaughter turned Build or Destroy during the time that we was that I haven't been on. And gotta give a shout out to my brother Born Life too. I'm sure if y'all been on Facebook or whatever, man, y'all probably seen, the guy Return to the Essence. That was that was my brother right there. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? But we haven't been on in a minute, so we know how the alerts is. You know what I'm saying? We know how the alerts is here. So we probably if we even get everybody on, it's gonna be a minute. But it's all right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I was thinking, look, I was thinking, because a couple people reached out to me. That's what made me say, all right, I guess it's time, because I didn't want y'all to think that 3 Atlas came back. I mean, 3i Atlas came back, and that I had bounced with Far and Elijah. You know what I'm saying? I started realizing that y'all might have thought that I left y'all like that. So I decided to come on and do a live, let y'all know. Look, I'm here. I'm in New York. I'm not on the planet Xanu or nothing like that. Bobby Joe Billy. Yeah. Y'all thought it was like the Christian series Left Behind, and all of y'all was left behind, and me and Far and Elijah was having lemonade, traveling through the galaxies. It could happen. But I was getting a lot of heat too, man. You seen it right before I left. I didn't really leave, but right before I wasn't, because I'm speaking of the internet now, like it's a physical place, saying right before I left. But a lot of controversy, a lot of controversy. So it was one of the things too, where when I fell back for a minute, it was like, this is kind of good right here. You know what I mean? To not have various controversy surrounding my name. But at the end of the day, unfortunately, I don't know if it's unfortunately for me, if it's unfortunately for y'all, but I do have a little bit of, it's another year, so I'm a little bit older, and perhaps you could chalk this up to me becoming a grumpy old man. That's a possibility, but in the time that I wasn't, and I was observing different things, having a few conversations, observing a few conversations, and there's something that in my view, right, people are misunderstanding. See, when people are misunderstanding the phrase, right, when you say, nobody could qualify you or disqualify you. That a man can only qualify and disqualify himself, right? Now look, it's not that saying is wrong, right? But it's just that, with any knowledge and wisdom, right? Any words that, is conveying some type of idea, people are interpreting that idea. You see what I'm saying? So, one thing I've seen that has been one thing that I've seen that has been misunderstood, right, is that at least when it comes to being a 5%, right? And let's do this, because this is one of the things I think that happens, right? When I start speaking, a lot of times you get a lot of people that are under the impression that I'm speaking about some unique situation, when in reality, I'm speaking about general practice. So let's put it in the context of a brain surgeon, right? Let's not say 5%. And look, Don Bishop, this last comment you made, I'm gonna come back to that, because I did do the knowledge to that, right? Remind me of that later on in the live stream, right? Let's say we talking about brain surgery, right? Being a brain surgeon. See, I can't qualify you or disqualify you to be a brain surgeon. Like, you can't go down to the doctor, right? I mean, you can't go down to the hospital, right, to apply for the job. And when they say, well, what's your qualifications to do brain surgery? And you give them a note from me. You give them a note, with me just saying, yeah, this person right here, Don Bishop, is qualified to operate on people's brains. Or if you went to the doctor, right, to have brain surgery, and instead of they did agree, they had a handwritten letter from me saying that this person is qualified to do brain surgery. See, that's what I can't qualify you or disqualify you to do that. you have to be qualified or disqualified according to your actions. So you got to go through with whatever those studies it is to be that. Right? For the various times, whatever it is, right? Depending on who you are and depending on whatever it is that you want to be, there's a certain amount of times you got to go into the studies for that. Right? There's a certain amount of time that you had to practice in that field. Right? To be accepted and respected as that. Right? And see, now we're talking about something that, when you start talking about important things, like operating on somebody's brain, then things is clarified. See, now look, you're qualified and disqualified according to your own actions, right? If you get your good grades in college, you get into medical school, you do what you got to do in your medical internship. See, once you do that, I can't write a letter, right? You got 1,000 people at the hospital right now. I can't write a letter saying, yeah, this person right here, you shouldn't let them be a doctor because I said so. Because I don't think, I saw them walking down the street and the way they was looking, they didn't look like they got that ability, to do brain surgery. Right? But see, here's where I think it really goes off at. See, you qualified or disqualified according to your own actions, but you can't make up your own standards. See, once you start making up your own standards, then you've destroyed whatever this thing is. Once anybody can be that. And see, you have to understand that there's a difference because specifically, right, this starts applying, right, when it's people don't understand the macrocosm and the microcosm. That see, in the microcosm, right, of your own world, you can make up the standards. You can make up all the standards as you go along. People do that, right? You have a time where you might be going to a certain restaurant, right? And then something might just happen. You get tired of that food. You like, yo, you know what? Yeah, nah, I don't want that. I done had too much of that. You get to set your own standards with that. You see, when you in the big world, when you talking about you a part of a family, right? You're a part of a society. Whatever it is, see, now there's a standard for that society. Whatever it is, various societies, they got their constitution of rules, whether it's written or not. Now, the 5%, right? We call that our culture. Right? Our constitution of laws is the supreme mathematics and the supreme alphabet. And see, people have to understand that, look, we're not making this stuff up. We just reporting it. We don't make this stuff up. So saying that, to say that, look, anybody could discover that they got. Or should I say, anybody can discover that the black man's got. See, that's something different than being a member of this specific nation. And see, that's what's happening. See, that's when, let's get down to the grain of what I don't like. Right? When we get down to the grain of what I like, is this attitude now that 5% is not a thing. And so, even if you manifest, right? If you manifest that, look, there's certain things that's not a part of this culture, right? See, the people that feel like they can make it up as they go along, it's like, oh yeah, nah, that's just a old school mentality. Now look, change is a constant in the universe. That's a universal law. You can't break that law, right? That change is going to come about. You see, here's the thing. Are you controlling the change or are you being changed? See, that's what happens when you don't know what to change. See, that's what happens when you start thinking that, yeah, the stuff that happened back in the days, that's just some old school shit. Because now what happens, right, is you're unaware of the lessons of the past. So you're unaware of what people have already learned about certain things. You said, how do you affect what's now? How you mean? See, this is the difference, right? See, some people get on the internet, right? And then now they like, oh well, this is the internet world where, you know, you manifest differently. Don't get me wrong. I'm in the environment, so I'm adapting, meaning that look at certain things that if you was right here, right, like for instance, with Born Life, I might tell you certain stories, right, that I wouldn't say on here, right. So yeah, I acknowledge my environment and everything, but I'm saying I ain't changing. Cause the internet came out, so just like look how many things it is, right? That people is like, yeah, well, this is the internet age, so people want to do that, and I still be like, nah, that's some bullshit. That's me. You see what I'm saying? Because the internet is now going to change me into a different person. See that's what I'm saying. You got to know what to change. Okay, so in this instance, right, I'm acknowledge my wisdom, right? In certain instances, right, I'm not going to say certain things because this is not the forum, the time, or the place for them, right? But I'm not going to change. I'm not going to start accepting a whole bunch of bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Or doing a whole bunch of bullshit. And see, this is what be happening. Where it's like, oh, well, the people over here, they do it like that. And the people over there, they do it like that. Like I said, yeah, they in a certain environment. It could be as simple as the clothes that they wear. Like if brothers got the knowledge, like for instance, the brothers right now that got the knowledge in Central America, right? They not wearing coats. We like, yo, guys, we're gonna put our coats on, go on the corner and build. They not putting on no coats and going on the corner. So see, they got to change that. And that's just a simple thing, what I'm saying. You see, when you start to change the whole standards, and because you hear all types of stuff, like, look, quoting lessons. Like, look, who remembers when Facebook first came out, right? When Facebook first came out, there was a term called the traditional gods. You sit here, I just had a cipher with my physical brother, and he coming at me like, God, we need to change or upgrade the lessons. Needless to say, that caused some controversy between me and him because I didn't see it that way, and he had the knowledge before me. I mean, look, a lot of times, and is look, when people change, that mean they couldn't be successful with it how it is. Whatever it is, if a person change, for the most part, you know what I'm saying? Like that's the case you can't be successful how it is. You can't live it out. But getting back to what I was saying, yeah, when I first came on Facebook, they was talking about how with certain traditional gods, like you would be talking to somebody, you'd be, not talking, but you going back and forth, however you communicating with somebody on Facebook, and then you might say something like, what degrees you knowledge or something like that, but you a traditional god. You know what I'm saying? Or you like, yeah, you ever been to a rally or something, and all of that was seen like, that's like some old, that's the 70s and 80s, man. And I mean that's something that I see in the world in general, right? But yeah, that's like something new. That's a new concept to me, where the originators don't get respect. I never, the people that cleared the path is I don't even know how to communicate, what I be detecting from people. He said, I think some of us do change the lessons, but the teaching is the same. How you mean some of us change the lessons? He said, how do you change the foundation? Exactly. How a person do it, they got it in them. They tell lies and try to master people. That's how. So you said people try to say that we not in the age of building directly or on the corner. I mean, individually, yeah, we got people that shouldn't be standing on the corner at the stage of life that they in. But the the very idea of leaving that behind, in my idea, because remember, we say the corner, but look, the main one of the main places was school. That's how I seen people around. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know what they was talking about though. The where it got explained to me at was in school. You know what I'm saying? Now look, people not gonna be, what I'm saying, at my age, right? It's different, going down to the high school having conversations with people in the lunchroom. Right? That's not the stage of life that I'm in. But see, there's nothing wrong with that practice. You see what I'm saying? It's the fact that, see, look, as long as see, the same people that say that, right? You scared to walk past the corner. You scared to walk past the corner, right? Because of the people that's up there. The people that need to know the truth, right? So they can know who they are and stop doing devilishment. So they can understand that what they supposed to deal with is peace and right, is truth and righteousness. Love, peace, and happiness, not death, hell, and destruction. So it's not the corner, or we above the corner. I mean, yeah, at a certain age, you above that, you know what I mean? Because you got more responsibilities that you got to take care of. Oh, my man, Omar. Hey, look, I saw it was you. I saw it was you for the first time. For the first time, I knew it was you this time. That's it. I'm trying. What happened to my comments over there? All right, I think it's coming back. I need to see it up there on the big screen. See, like I said, right now, this little bit of writing over here, I don't want to see that. But yeah, so this is a part of what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Is that people who wasn't there, right? Who didn't Verizon. Oh yeah, I heard about Verizon being down, but I ain't got Verizon. That's what I'm saying. It's I don't want these people to have to give my money back. But now this is something. I think I just got to go out and come back in because I'm seeing me. I just can't see the comments. See, I told you I have this conversation with my kids a lot. I have this conversation with my kids where I'll tell them that look, I can't see like I used to. I think I need glasses. And so they'll ask me like, what do that say right there on that, like they're pointing at a paper, something that's far over there. Say, what do that say? Right? And when I tell them what it said, they said, see, I didn't even know that was words. I just thought that was a black line right there. I didn't even I didn't even know that was words. That just looked like a black line right there till you said that was words. Yeah, small print. Yeah, small print. I had to lock in. I had to really look at things now. Like whereas before I used to just glance at things, like you said, if it's small print or something, yeah, I might have to certain times. But what I realized too is it come and go. It got something to do with looking at that screen. It got something to do with looking at that screen too close. You said how you see applying supreme mathematics in the year 2026? God said I wear glasses, I'm not afraid. Like I said, the people who, everybody, because I'm the only person in my family that don't wear glasses. There's various levels where some of them got to wear glasses like 24 hours, and some of them got to wear glasses some of them wear glasses when they reading. But yeah, I'm the only person that never wore glasses. So I don't really know how it's supposed to be, because it do be things that I see. It's like, yeah, that looks pretty. I would think that somebody that can see that could see, like if it was somebody else. But at the same time, right, I'm at the point where it's like, look, why strain my eyes though? Like if I don't have to use my full power to see, right? Then what I'm doing that for? Yeah, the contacts, I don't know. I see what happens. I mean, I ain't really worried about it. If I get some glasses, I'm gonna get some joints. But right now I'm good. I don't think I need to take it to that level just yet. But look, the brother said, how you see applying supreme mathematics in 2026, right? So, it's I'm about to, this is gonna be a little bit, especially for the new people. Like maybe it's new people that you haven't been on here a long time, so you don't realize that yes, it's a double-edged sword over here. So see the 26. See, we just talked about the science of knowing the history, what I'm saying, and knowing the history, not just to say this person is famous or that person is famous, but to know and understand the lessons that was learned. You know what I'm saying? See, even when people talk about certain things that might have happened, right, that wasn't positive, right? Things that people might have got involved with, but see, you don't never talk about the lesson that was learned. See, it might have been obvious to you, you get the knowledge at 20, 23, 25, 30, all of that, right? But to people that's getting the knowledge that's 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, right? They had to learn the lesson of what happens, right, if you God and you do that. And, we can clearly see that, there's still people out there right now with the knowledge and without the knowledge. See, just because you learn that lesson that the black man is God, that don't mean that you learn all lessons in life. So this is why it's important to know what happened. Like I said, not just to see. A lot of people think that's what it is. It's to grandstand this person, to grandstand that person. See, even look, if you've been on the internet long enough, right, you done heard all type of shit about Firstborn Prince. You know, I learned my lessons. You know what I'm saying? Change the lesson. See, people who need it, who's trying to change the lessons, they looking for something to worship. See, they point is that look, we have this sacred knowledge that was ordained in all these ways, or whatever ways. They thing is that look, I got the see, those is the 70% satisfied. That really they just want the knowledge to hold it over other people's heads. So they can come on the internet and talk about how knowledgeable they are, right? And how unknowledgeable everybody else is. So getting back to my answer to the question which you asked, right? I was saying all that to say that, I did all that speaking about acknowledging the history, right? But see, when you say, how you gonna apply supreme mathematics this year? No, not nowadays. And I know that, see, look, that might throw some people off. Well, I just talked all of this thing about how important the history is, but see, look, no, not nowadays, because we've learned. And see, this leads right into what I'm saying is that, look, is that kind of just talking ain't going to work no more. Because y'all not dealing with babes in the woods no more. See, people done brought lights in the wilderness. Through whatever various ways. Even just in the form of, just public school education. The fact that people can read things for themselves now and reading comprehension and all of that is lights in the wilderness now. So it ain't like, when I first heard the black man's God, I never heard nothing like that before. Like I said, I seen the people walking around the neighborhood. I heard them talking, right? But I didn't know what they was talking about. See, it wasn't, Wu-Tang hadn't come out and deciphered that yet. They hadn't broke it down in a way that everybody was understanding, the rap thing hadn't happened yet. When I was getting the knowledge. So, our language and everything being out there like that, like these things was amazing to me. There was no internet. There was nobody, you couldn't get on the internet and see the rally. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't go on Infinite's channel and see, people who walk with Allah talking. You couldn't see that. It wasn't on TV. It wasn't no Supreme on TV, whatever, various characters. None of that existed yet. So when somebody said the black man is God, everything stopped. and people crowded around that person like, yo, what you mean by that? Like, how could you be God? Like, wait a minute, what you mean? Like, you God in the sky? You know, I'm God right here. We talking about in the sky. You understand what I'm saying? So in this day and time, you gotta put some action with that. That's what I said all that to say. In this day and time, you gotta put some action with those words. Cause see, look, you got all kinds of people now that say they to this guy, to that guy, you know, this person is a rap guy. You know, look, when I heard that Drake was calling himself the sixth God, right? Because Toronto, that area or the whole thing, whatever it is, they call it the six. When he said he was the sixth guy, that was, hey, listen, it's over. At this point, everybody know it. Most people haven't seen it shown and proven. You know, most people have never seen nobody show and prove it. You know, they heard the science. You know, if you go up there and tell them, right, you know, they'll start breaking down Wu-Tang lyrics or Brand Nubian lyrics or wherever they might have heard it before. YouTube channels, you know, et cetera, et cetera. You said the sixth guy kind of means Yakub in a way. I mean, you know, I understand people's point. But look. See, a lot of things can be more, right? Only one thing can be the most, right? God is the most high. See, like supreme, right, means the most high, right? Mathematics means science. See, the most high, it can only be one most. To see all this various shit you hear, people, this person is the god of the devilishment and all that. Listen, I understand what people mean. But most high means most high. He said more work, less talk is the truth of what year? 2026? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. At this point in time right now, right, you know, even like, look, see, you got whole YouTube channels, you know, Reverend Sinetta channel with all these various things. You know, you got people doing politics, you know, people doing economic stuff, you know, it's a lot of talking. And I'm not saying for nobody not to be talking, right? Talking is how, you know, the people get galvanized, how the people communicate one idea that they're going to live out, right? In order for all of them to be able to see the clear picture of what they're going to live out, they got to communicate. So, it's, you know, it's not, but I'm just saying that you have to put some action with that now. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, when, you know, you show a kid how to ride a bike, you know, you might have to ride the bike to show them. at the very least, you're gonna have to hold them up. You're gonna have to deal with some action with those instructions. You know what I'm saying? Like riding a bike is not a kind of thing you could just tell somebody like, yeah, just get on and just balance yourself and just pedal. You know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? Some things, right? You got to put some action with that. And that's the science with, a lot of things that we need to accomplish. A lot of people think, yeah, we need more talking, more talking, more talking. Now we just gotta show and prove the stuff we already said. But see now that's a different picture. Where now you gotta look at the role that you play. See, now look, can you qualify and disqualify yourself like that? See, a lot of people, you don't want to do that kind of qualifying, disqualifying of yourself. Meaning to say that, look, this thing right here, the role I played in it was the biggest factor in that happening like that. See, like, look, there's a saying amongst us, right? That the devil is here to get the wrongdoers, right? So, if the devil keep being your problem, then what that's telling you about you? But see, you don't want to qualify and disqualify yourself like that. So you don't want to be judged. See, me, I want to be judged. Because one thing I hate is to be lumped in with some clowns. I want you to judge me, right? Just see, people don't want to be judged. Is people you afraid of what the judgment is going to be? See, if you know you the best, right? You want everybody. You ain't got no why I say you want, but you ain't got no problem with everybody judging that. He said, when I was a young guy, that's it. This is a side question. You know what I'm saying? But when you was a young guy, did you observe the Italian and Jewish mobsters in New York? So the Jewish mobsters was as a like the people who you talking about, right? Because it's Jewish gangsters right now. Believe it or not. you know, it's Jewish gangsters right now. But generally speaking, and the reason why I'm gonna go into that is because there's a lesson there, right? See, the Jewish mobsters didn't carry on because that organization the way it was, right? Those Jewish gangsters that schooled the Italian gangsters was because they never brought that around their youth. They never showed the Jewish youth that that's what they was doing. So people who was Jewish gangsters, they lived in the regular rich neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? And they just, they told people that they was in real estate, or, maybe they did invest in something else or whatever it might be. And, they neighbors and everybody, nobody knew that they was doing that. See what I'm saying? But the Italian gangsters, a lot of them never left the hood. So they riding around the Italian neighborhoods with big cars and jewelry on, and the kids are seeing them. You see what I'm saying? And so generation after generation, the kids is looking up to them and becoming a part of that. You see what I mean? So by the time you got to my age group, you had to really, if you didn't know, you would never suspect that, right? Going in one of their neighborhoods. Like if you go in their neighborhood, you don't see anything over there where you like, yeah, over there they doing something, you know what I'm saying, where if you go in the Italian neighborhood, you would see things like that. So it's just that, my point of going into that, even though that's not the topic, right, is that it got to do with what you teach the babies. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, there's things that be in all different aspects of life. Certain love from the neighborhood missed us by that much. See, look, Certain Love, it's funny that he comes in right there because, Certain Love brought up Arthur Avenue. That's one of the places, the movie A Bronx Tale was on Arthur Avenue. He said, I've been binging on movies. Oh yeah, but yeah, that's those movies. That's the 20s and 30s. That's what I'm saying. That organization, that they was doing all of that together. Yeah, those people is, well, I don't know. Maybe they still call themselves the same, but like I said, you don't see them, doing the things that you used to seeing gangsters do. When you from our neighborhood. She said people do what they do based on what they carry. So can I go back? Oh yeah, let me see. Medina. Let me see if I can pull it up over here. Said people do what they do based on what they carry. So when I say I want to add on to the plumbing program, it's because I can, off topic possibly, yet it's still dynamite. You know what? Do I have your Instagram? Because what happens is right now they meet on the plumbing, electricity, and HVAC class. They meet on Sundays, on Sunday evenings at 5, 6, 7 o'clock, around that time. So what happens is there's a Zoom call. There's a Zoom call that you can tune into, you know what I'm saying? Let the brothers know what your expertise is and start adding on. Hey, look, Medina, that's why I came on. I had to do a live stream today just to let everybody know that, I'm still here on the planet. I'm in New York. You know what I'm saying? That's what I was saying. I was thinking that maybe a lot of people started thinking they was left behind. That Father and Elijah came back and got me. They couldn't pick me up with all y'all watching. They had to wait. They had to wait till y'all back was turned, then they came and got me. But yeah, those is the kind of things what I'm talking about though. Is that and this stuff is not new. That's what I'm saying about knowing the history. You know what I'm saying? Is that those was, yeah, everybody gets introduced to supreme mathematics and supreme alphabet, right? First, you know. But then right after that, look, everybody's told, look, go to school, get a job, get into these various programs, you know what I'm saying, that the city is got going on, right now for the youth. Take advantage of these things, because those things is a lot of times, when you get the knowledge and now you in the realm of 7, meaning like the things that you thinking about, you thinking about, mastering this knowledge. You know what I mean? Especially if you coming out of the Christian world, so, you don't know what the full potential is. Like, am I going to be able to shoot lightning bolts one day? Like, I was taught who God is, because you don't have another concept, right, than the concept you was introduced to, unless you was introduced to other concepts. But for most people in America, you're going to get introduced to Christianity, and you immersed in the world, you know what I'm saying? Meaning, you go to school, you say the Pledge of Allegiance, one nation under God, and all of this stuff like that, right? And because well, if you're young, right, you might lose track, because even a regular young person, you don't realize all of the things that the world of 6 has in store. You know what I'm saying? Meaning just the regular world out here where we walking through life, right? The good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful, right? You don't really even know what that is fully, right? So this is why you get sent to school, right? So that you could be prepared to move through the world of 6, right? The world of 6 where, food, clothing, and shelter. Let's put those as some of the things, right, that you got to be prepared for in the world of 6. See, in the world of 7, it's like, yeah, you prepared your mind, right? You know what I'm saying? You studied all these things, you got all this knowledge, but did you prepare yourself to be able to express that? You know what I'm saying? Or did you, like for instance, if you didn't prepare yourself, right, you could start to lose mathematics. See, like, you don't prepare yourself and then you get involved with the wrong thing, you could lose your freedom. You know what I'm saying? You don't prepare yourself, you could get stuck in hell and never come out right. And what I'm saying is that these things was already introduced, you know what I'm saying? Different people, Harlem Prep, you know what I'm saying? There was other programs too. There was art programs, all different things that people was getting introduced, jobs programs, everything that Allah was sending people to, you understand what I mean, to prepare themselves to express the actual work of this. So, you know, it's not that it's new, right? But it is history that has to be renewed. You know, by it has to be renewed by those who haven't been, you know, whatever it is you've been doing. Should I have gratitude for Allah's teachers because this films of mobbing would be enticing for me to emulate when I was a kid lacking knowledge, but now I can see it clearly for what it is. Yeah, you know, that's you know, uh the good thing about that, right, is when you're around the right people. You know, and you know, because see what I've seen is that a lot of people, right, they was around the wrong people. And so what happened is when they got the knowledge, they didn't get no other instructions with it. Well, me and him got a little different topics. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, he was successful at YouTube. But you see, a lot of people ain't and what it is, they don't realize that there are instructions. And so by the time they get introduced to the instructions, that's when they start talking about, yeah, well, you can't qualify me or disqualify me. Nah, bro, you haven't been doing this according to the instructions. See, and that's why a lot of times when people speak about the guys, right, they'll leave that out. Because see, a lot of people, they white supremacists. They white supremacists. Look, let me say it like this, because you know, Supreme Man, it's certain things. See that I have word police. I got word police that's worse than YouTube. So I can't say white supremacy because if Supreme Man sees this, then he's gonna call me up and say it's not white supremacy, it's white fragility. B God was the signs. But some people is white fragile or whatever the word is. And see, the reason I say that, right? The reason I say that is because this is just something I noticed just as a kid, always growing up. I always noticed this, right? That the dominant group, right? At least, you know, the way it gets portrayed, you know, in you know, the way we get a lot of things that we perceive is from the media, I guess, you know. But what I just in general, right? The dominant group is known by their best. You know what I'm saying? And the lesser group is known by their worst. So meaning, you know, if you go outside of the big cities, right, you start encountering white people with a lot of problems. But those are not the white people that white people are known by. Like if you start talking about white people, you're going to talk about successful white people. Like when they start talking about the white statistics, they're talking about the successful white people. And at the same token, right, if they talk about you know, a neighborhood, right? You know what I'm saying? Not to pick on you, but you just made me think of that because I'm responding to your comment, right? But Divine God saying that if they talk about Compton, they just gonna talk about the gangs. They not gonna talk about all the people that came out of there that became doctors and lawyers. You see what I'm saying? Or oh, that's who that is, Wordsmith. Yeah, it's no wonder, no wonder he took me a little bit off topic. But saying, or look, there was a brother that said, I didn't ever research it, but he said that more Olympic athletes came out of Compton than any other city in America. But if you hear about over there, you're not going to hear about that. And I don't know why I'm on my long story stuff today, right? Because I'm saying all that to say is that the 5%, right? We only get known by the people who never ever lived this out. They might have been famous in the hood, you know what I'm saying, for whatever various things, and they had a righteous name. And so they got known by that, but they never knew their lessons. They never gave nobody the knowledge. And it was about death, hell, and destruction the whole time. They was doing this for a fad. They was doing it because it was fashionable. They was doing it because it was cool. They was doing it because it was protection. All these various reasons. They never lived this out. But they got famous with one of our names. And so now they don't know that now we got people that is doctors. That came into this with the knowledge. That came into this knowledge, you know what I'm saying? And that was born in this knowledge. How many school teachers we got? Bilal is the principal. How many lawyers we got? But this is what I'm saying. Nobody never talks about those people, right? And they never say that Allah's teachers produced that. But see, look, they're going to do what they're going to do. The fact is, right? You have to build to the level of beyond a shadow of a doubt. Because see, you can say you building and you doing this and you doing that and you want to do this and you want to do that, right? But, once a monument is there, once that knowledge and wisdom has, risen to the point where there's some clear picture, right, that shows and proves what that knowledge and wisdom was about, see, then it can't be ignored. You know what I'm saying? It can't be, you can't, try to mitigate it or look at it from various angles or, whatever a person's emotions, is swaying this way or that way. When there's a monument there, And, you know, by monuments, you know, we talking about various, you know, institutions, you know, buildings, you know, all these different things that is you know, that's the infrastructure of a nation, where people could look at that and say, yo, how that got there? Oh yeah, the 5% did that. You know what I'm saying? How you got this job? Oh yeah, I started going to the HVAC class at a law school. That's how I see that stuff like that. A person can't, you know, they belief can't change that. Their emotions can't change that. You know, that's the science. Just, you know, in general, just with the science that you know, really with anything in life. You know, but saying specifically, we talking about us. It's that stage in the universe. You know, or let's say right here in our corner of the universe, it's that stage. You know, where look, even the internet, right? See, like I said, you know, there was no a law school and mega channel and all this type of stuff, right? You know, that's something that the internet kind of represents. You know, the internet kind of represents that, look, all knowledge is out. When I say out, I mean it's out here, it's available. Everybody got the knowledge. Look, you can ask Chat GPT the lessons now. So now that just means that it's about everybody what you live out with it. See, you know, back then it was a select few people where you had to be in the right place at the right time. You know what I'm saying? If you was in Montana, if 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 uh if you was in Montana, you know, in 1988, you wasn't in the right place at the right time to be exposed to the knowledge. But now it's out. You know what I'm saying? You know, if you was curious, right, then look, it's all these channels, man, all these videos. You know, to this day, look, you can get on the internet and see ABG talking. You get on the internet and see Darkim talking. Various people that you see, you know, on Infinite's channel, you know, we talking about the originators. So all that's available. Yeah, ChatGPT know the lessons. I seen a dude training the ChatGPT. See, this is what I'm saying. This look. This is the craziness of the world. This is what I'm saying. See, the internet ain't gonna change me. But look, I seen this brother training the AI, talking about if we don't put the knowledge in AI, then we not gonna be known and shit. And it's like, God, what the fuck are you talking about? What? But he was training the AI, asking the AI today's mathematics and all of that. Will ChatGPT have understanding? Of course not. See, I didn't even say it was right. So you asked it a question, and it got a tremendous bank of information, right? And it's just seen like it knows that question. So if you ask it what's today's supreme mathematics, it knows that, oh, that's some 5% science or whatever. So ChatGPT knows me. Next time you on ChatGPT, ask ChatGPT about the Random Jewels channel. They know all about me, what I teach on here and everything. See, that's what I be telling y'all, man. This stuff, you said imagine a robot walking up to a law school asking today's degree. I don't have to imagine. I guess I would have to imagine if you specifically describe, a metallic robot or something. But look, see, when I was saying, right, ChatGPT knows me, right? It's not like that's a small thing, right? Meaning it's not like I'm like, yeah, now I could fall back. I can hang up the gloves, because I've done what I need to do because ChatGPT knows who I am, right? But look, that's just something right there. Like that's in the data banks, however long that ChatGPT stuff works, right? It's going to be difficult for people to say, right, that I didn't build on supreme mathematics. If even ChatGPT, if you ask, because that means that, look, they can ask at whatever point, right? Meaning that, if it's still around in 50 years and I'm not, right? Then people say, yo, who was Darkim Be Allah? Probably built on the math, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, he's teaching that 5% science. But like I said, that's a small thing because, that's not really, there's no growth and development. You understand what I mean? Like you can't pass that on to anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like say I got kids, right? I can't pass that on, that ChatGPT knows me, right? And then, they take that seed and build that into something, crazy bigger. And then you say, well, yo, how you got that? And then you be like, yeah, my pop started this right here, and then he left it to me, and then I expanded it, into this empire right here. right? You know, you can't do that with, you know, whatever is going on with ChatGPT. But so that's small. But you know, building, like I said, those kind of institutions, whether they're, you know, some institutions is in the building, and some institutions is really just the mindset of the people, you know what I'm saying, in the system that they built, you know, to accomplish whatever they accomplish. You understand what I mean? The new Solomon Child's joint. Uh, I don't know what's the new Solomon Child's joint. I can't call it. What is it? AI videos are fire? Nah, I don't think I seen that. Like I seen one where I think I did see one where it was like the picture of him looking at the book, and then like just the ones where they have like they'll start with a picture, then the picture will move like a little bit, but like it won't be doing nothing crazy, like robbing a bank or something. I think I might have seen one of those. But yeah, what's the name of it? Oh yeah, you know something? I seen that. I don't know what that's about. You know something? I saw that because I had to. You know, I asked him to change the original artwork. I don't know if you saw the original artwork. I had to ask him to adjust that. And you know it's funny because yeah, so I was working with that, right? Because I had just asked him like, yo, you know, who's on the project? I don't, you know, like how's this become? Because I saw my name on there, right? But you know, whoever's on, like, how is this a 5% album? Like, why is the cover? You know what I'm saying? But we didn't totally go back and forth. But I'm thinking, I guess maybe it's more 5% than me on it. Oh yeah, Sharon Love, you know. Listen, especially, you know how many calls I would have got with my name on the cover, with my name on the cover and that up there, trying to kill me, man. And see, that's what I'm saying. That's the example of what I'm saying, right? Is that if it's my logo, right, I might give him permission to adjust it like that. See, that's what I'm saying is the difference between you being able to set your own standards in your own world, right, and that being the universal flag. Like, this is not, you know, like, nah. See, like I said, if this was the random Jews design, divine understanding, and you know, you adjusted it or whatever, I might have looked at it and said, you know what, that's unique or something. But you know, I had to you know, it's not a logo. It's not like the Woo symbol, right? Where everybody got their own Woo symbol. You know what I mean? Like the Jizza got his own version of the Wu symbol. Now we're not doing that with the flag that's everybody's. See, people don't understand that there's a meaning to that. When you say a group of men or a society of men, women, and children, right? There's a difference in how you deal with that. Like if you in your house, right, you by yourself, you might be dressed one way that you wouldn't be dressed, right, if people was there or if you went outside. And people is losing track of that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know I'm on here too, but you know, we see that with social media. With people losing track of which aspects of their lives is okay to put on here. See, like, look, that's something that they've taught the babies where, you know, people under about 40 years old will put everything on the internet. They don't care. They'll give all their information, where they live at, where they'll give a whole dossier out on social media. 1 2 1 2 1 2. Can you hear me now? All right. Yeah, I didn't know that could happen. But yeah, I was get back to what I was asking. So yeah, we got any last questions? Because y'all know me, I can beat a subject into the ground. You know what I'm saying? I could beat a subject into the ground. And you always gotta be aware of that because, and this is a reality, for all of us to pay attention to in 2026 and beyond, right? Is how much things we're giving life to. Like it's just there's a great number of things, right? That yeah, Julia TV probably not. She said, "Do you accept New Year's as January 1st?" Well, what do you mean by that? Because there's not. I'm not saying that you're doing this, but I grew up around people that had a lot of trick questions, right? So, on the calendar, there's a day that says New Year's Day. So okay, that's what you're saying. You're saying is it? Well, nah. If you're going according to that, then no, not particularly, because uh, that's the Gregorian calendar. But yeah, the boy, you know what I'm saying, right? Exact. It's so many things, right, that people be complaining about, right? And it's like you're complaining about it. You elevate the power of this thing to do damage. Whatever the idea is, like you giving the life to it. You understand what I'm saying? That's what's happening with a lot of a lot of things right now that's just around a lot of people, you know, they live off, especially the internet is that way. Where you got whole people, identities of people, right, that only exist and thrive if you pay them attention. Like, can a troll exist and thrive if no one pays them attention? But you see how the person reacting to the troll, right, is what that's what makes the troll. You understand what I'm saying? Is that's what the troll is not even a troll, right? Until you start giving them some of your energy. See, like, look, even myself, right? There's somebody might comment in the comment section, right? They might comment in the comments here, and they might say something that most other people might just look at and be like, yeah, I don't make no sense, and ignore it. But see, once I start going back and forth with the person, now everybody who looks at the show knows that person. You said Shannon Sharp is in another bind? Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Is that, hey, look, that's where he keeps giving life to that stuff. See what I mean? If we life itself, right, then just getting involved with some things, you giving life to it. See, it's one of them things where, how they say, uh, what you focus your mind on, right, is what's gonna come about, right, indiscriminately. So if you focus your mind on the stuff that you don't like and you don't want to happen, this is the stuff that you're gonna manifest. Said it was Wordsmith born day too. Shout out to the Wordsmith. You know who else born day it was? Fly Phrase. Fly Phrase from the Providence Plantations, y'all. Shout out to him. You know, if you're new to the channel, right, then you might not have met Fly Phrase. Was one of the original. He was one of the original viewers of the channel. Like, I remember Fly Phrase commenting like before I even started doing the live streams, because the live stream started after, I guess, a couple weeks, but it didn't start from the beginning. But he was, you know, came to the first live streams. But Fly Phrase, you know, unfortunately, he had sickle cell. And so it used to be stretches when, you know, he wouldn't be able to tune in or whatever. But, you know, whenever his health was right, he used to always check. You know what I'm saying? Supreme Freedom. Yeah, I just seen it though. I think we spoke on it in November, but I just seen it again on my some social media I tapped into, and I seen his name. You know what I'm saying? But you know, yeah, then he returned to the essence, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, Fly Phrase was one of the original people here on the Random Jewels channel. You know what I mean? I always call him Fly Phrase from the Providence Plantations, because at some point, right before I met him, I think it was either right before I met him or right at that time, I found out that That's the full name of Rhode Island. Fly Phrase was from Rhode Island, but the actual name of Rhode Island is Rhode Island and the Providence Plantations. You know, that was always to me. You know, some things you look back, you know, like it's because we have our own mindset, right? I don't know how. Like I couldn't move someplace with plantations in the name. Like it's just one of those things that it makes you wonder, like how's it any black people in some place called the plantations? Yeah, speaking of Knowledge Born ain't come through. He probably come through in a minute. Yeah, but I'm saying I can't see for me personally. I'm just saying I don't know if I could move someplace with plantation in the name. You know, it's just one of the things where like what you expect to happen. It's one of those asymmetrical. It's one of those asymmetrical things where like if you live your whole life there and nothing happens, right? That's one thing. But then as soon as something happened, right? If soon as something happened, right, people gonna say, well, what you thought was gonna happen then? Yeah, this is another thing. What I seen, that kind of started on the internet too, man. Where, uh, you know, all these little things start becoming controversial. It's not like it wasn't always controversial things, but it's like the things get really, really small now. You said plantations because plantation in the 17th century meant an agricultural settlement or colony, not specifically slave-run farms as it does today, while Roger Williams founded the settlement of Providence. You said probably BS. Yeah, I would say so. I would say so. Because look, here's the first question you gotta ask. You said look at Beacon, New York. Some of the guys went there to find the law, while the others went to Mattawan. After that time, you hear of guys in Beacon, New York now. I mean, that you know that's a joke. That reminds me of a joke where there used to be a joke amongst the old timers that when everybody left the South, they all wanted to come to New York City. Like everybody was headed to New York when they left down south, but they was like the people that's like in Philly and Baltimore, they didn't have enough money to pay for a ticket to get all the way to New York. And the people that's in Boston and Connecticut and those places, they fell asleep on the train, and then they ain't had no money to come back, so they just stayed. They just stayed up there. But that's a joke for the old timers. The old timers that was in the Great Migration. I tried to watch this film called Uncle Tom's Cabinet today, but I couldn't handle the first 10 minutes. It was disturbing. Oh yeah, you brought that up. But look, in terms of this Don Bishop brought up the Drewski skit that he did with the church people, right? And you brought up how I guess like in general social media was a little more hype. They was, a lot of people is making, now, I watch Tazuriak though. You know what I'm saying? I watch, you know, I kind of stopped watching the Hakai guy a little bit, but, being that I watched the Hebrew Israelites, I did see, people commenting on him doing a skit about the Hebrew Israelites. You know what I mean? So I didn't really look at it from the standpoint of, like people wasn't upset about it. I looked at it from the standpoint of, when he did the first one about the Hebrew Israelites, it was kind of like, you kind of, you kind of, you kind of punching down. You know what I'm saying? But when I saw him do the church one, then it was kind of like, all right, I see. You equal opportunity. You know what I'm saying? You're not punching down. In particular on some people that you got more fame than, and you trying to make them paint them in a particular like, you hitting up religious people. You know what I mean? So just in terms of, him being a comedian, him being a comedian, like if you only got one kind of joke, you know what I mean, then it stops being funny. You know what I'm saying? But being that he's giving it to everybody. I looked at it from that perspective. You know what I'm saying? That he's being a comedian. Like you're not trying to say nothing in particular about whatever group. He had permission from the IUIC. But yeah, that was crazy. That was a crazy skit. You said, did anyone see the documentary Supreme McGriff, The Supreme Truth? Nah. it's not that I don't watch stuff like that, but you know, most of the time, especially this last wave, like I would say, I mean, it's been a minute, but like I didn't watch the Puffy thing. I didn't, you know, there's been a couple of, you know, I guess like cultural kind of moments or whatever that, you know, I didn't see. I don't really have. But what was, you know, was there any particular points of interest in the film there? You say you think he's innocent after watching? I mean, actually, I don't even know what he got convicted for. Like you know, to a certain degree, I don't be following that stuff. Like some stuff, I had enough. You know, I had enough. You know, being outside where, you know, I don't really, you know, you know what it is? Is I got a cutoff point now. Like it might be, you know, something might come up, and you know I might be bored or whatever. I might, but it's like I don't be watching this stuff. See, plus a lot of times, you know what people gotta watch out for? You gotta watch out for that OJ thing. See, even though they not supposed to do that, remember how the time that OJ got in Vegas, right? The time that he got in Vegas was really because he got off in LA. Like the stuff that happened in Vegas that he went to jail for, I didn't even see what he did that was criminal. You know, my mind is a little bit twisted, but I didn't see what he did. Why was that illegal? So a lot of times, you know, like you saying, like, yeah, you know, he might be innocent or whatever, but you know, depending on the situation, you know, you will be getting sentenced because they feel like you got away, you know what I'm saying, with all the stuff that everybody got convicted for in the 80s. The Godfather of Harlem series. But you gotta remember that stuff. I think Bumpy Johnson passed away in '69, something like that. So, you know, rather, you know, Bumpy and who he knew and how he rolled, that's before my time. I did hear, uh, you know, part of the Malcolm X story is that uh, Bumpy Johnson, when Malcolm first, started having issues with the Muslims, that Bumpy Johnson supposedly stepped to him and was like, yo, you good? And Malcolm was like, yeah, but I did hear that, but what is is the I ain't do no research. It's just a story that you hear in New York about Malcolm. Yeah, power. I mean, I never really got into power like that from the jump. Because at the end of the day, that's kind of like the same story being told over and over. See, like right there, you just said Juice, Menace to Society, Boys in the Hood. It's like, yeah, we saw the story already. It's not even really no new twist. Raphael Bird, welcome to the channel. But look, that's another one of those things, right? When I was saying earlier that, look, you gotta watch what you giving life to. You know what I'm saying? And so just saying in general, in our community, right, we give life to that stuff. So just saying that, look, you said, killed Bobby Robinson in The Godfather Harlem. He discovered Dougie Fresh the treacherous through the Disco 4 in the Mastodon Committee. And they see all this stuff, man, stuff get into what's the name, all these various betrayals. That's what I'm saying. I don't it's difficult for me to watch that stuff a lot because, like I said, it's all the same story told over and over. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you see, it's like, add that to the list, right? Of things like the male comedian wearing a dress. You know what I'm saying? Or how some people don't like slave portrayals or whatever. But that other thing that is like, a good 90%, maybe because I don't watch movies like that, but I would say like 90% of the movies that I see, right, is I'm saying that if it's black movies, right, it's negativity. And I know, people telling stories from their world, the stories is real, then that's what it is. But I'm just saying that, gang people setting people up, you know what I'm saying, women setting people up, drug dealers, jail. This is, and see what it is we support that shit. Meaning this is what I'm saying, right? Now, of course, amongst certain people, but we talking about just in general, right? Is John Singleton better known for Rosewood or for Boys in the Hood? Somebody look those statistics up right now. Somebody, how much money did Boys in the Hood gross, right? And how much money did Rosewood gross? So just saying that we're giving that life. Sinners, nah, I ain't see it. I mostly don't watch movies because it's the same. You know, look, it is the same thing in white movies too. But I'm just, I don't really watch it like that. But you know, for them, like every 5 or 6 years they make Texas Chainsaw Massacre over. See, look, we got the wordsmith and the mathematician. We got the wordsmith and the mathematician on the same live stream. Right, Julia TV. Look, we all know it's Boys in the Hood, but I'm saying, what's the actual numbers? What's the actual numbers that Boys in the Hood gross? And see, you can say it's the Hollywood thing and everything, but remember when Mel Gibson made Passion of the Christ? See, he got blackballed, first of all for some things that he was already saying. They already didn't like him, and then whatever the movie was about, right? They thought he was portraying some things they didn't want, so they tried to ban him. And what happened was, all of the Christian churches started chartering buses. They started chartering buses to take people to see the movie. And that's how it became the _1 grossing movie. Even though they tried to ban it, they was taking busloads of people. They was taking busloads of people there. J. Pierre Fallen. So, Prime Phoenix, you decide to I think that was John Singleton's movie, and he put Ice Cube on. So look at that. Boys in the Hood, 57 million. Right? Rosewood, 13 million. Now look, you gotta remember, the algorithm has always existed. It's just in this form right now. So see, the same way you look at things, on Instagram or Facebook or whatever social media, YouTube, and then the algorithm starts feeding you more of it, right? It's the same thing. If all this negativity come out, you know what I'm saying, and we respond to it, they're gonna give us more of it. You see what I'm saying? We're giving life to a lot of negative things. You know what I'm saying? Like, see me, if I don't like something, all I can tell you is that I don't like it. You know what I'm saying? Like, when somebody gives you all of the details, like, it's one thing, like, say, you knew somebody or whatever, right? You said they cloned Tyrone. I must have missed that one. Who's Tyrone? Do they have any movies depicting the Tulsa massacre? I mean, that's kind of what Rosewood was about. I don't know in particular, but that's, Rosewood was about the science of that. And that's what I'm saying is that, uh, uh, you know, we don't respond to, uh, those positive things. You know what I'm saying? And everybody has a complaint. Yeah, Rosewood was an actual place too, but just in general, you know what I'm saying? We give life to a lot of things that we don't want to, right? But not realizing the power of our mind and the power of focus. Now, Matrix, I saw Matrix. I saw the first one. I told you, see, my first, the line, the two things in the Matrix, right, that sunk in for me, right, is number one, when the two things that sunk in, one scene was when he woke up and he was in the pod, right? When he was in the pod and he woke up and it was all these other pods right around him, right? But when the people was in the pods, they don't have knowledge of self. They don't know they in the pod. They don't know that all these people is around them. So when he woke up and looked around like, oh shit. That to me was that was like getting the knowledge. You know what I'm saying? And then my other line in there, my other scene was when the dude was eating the steak and he said, yeah, I know the steak is fake, but I don't care. You know what I'm saying? I could not believe it. Hey, JPF Fallen, I asked you a question. Why you went back to this? Oh, they cloned Tyrone as a Netflix series. All right. Yeah, I haven't checked Netflix in a minute. JPF Fallen, I'm asking you, why did you decide to use this name today and not Prime Phoenix? He said people should have known that Boys in the Hood was going to make more than Rosewood. Look at how NWA record sells over X-Clan or any other positive music at that time. I mean, going back to that era, the thing is, you still had your Will Smiths. You know what I'm saying? It's not that, there shouldn't be all kinds of music. It's that now there's not all kinds of music. You know what I'm saying? Meaning that saying that, Will Smith was selling records too. He said it's Boys in the Hood, the reason the Los Angeles black population significantly decreased in those. What do you mean, the movie? Or the things that was happening? JPF Fallen said, I don't do that. I don't have any other ways to view you. So look, JPF Fallen, how you got the knowledge? Where you from, JPF Fallen? Dr. Black and Mr. Hyde, it's about a doctor that makes a serum that is supposed to regenerate dying liver cells, but turns him Caucasian and he goes on a killing spree. All right, now that's what is it? Is it a comedy? What kind of show is? Oh man. Yeah, no doubt, Raphael Bird. But I mean, in terms of sales, I mean, you're right. I don't think they was outselling them. You know what I mean? But you know, you still had, you know, you had Kid and Play. You know, they never outsold them on music, but you know, they was doing the movies. You know, you gotta remember all of the people that that came from those movies. Martin Lawrence, who was the other girl? Pam, that was no, Gina. So JPF Fallen, now you're saying you was born in Medina. And where did you get the knowledge? But you're saying that to say that there was other people that was you know, doing good. It was other entities at that time. You know what I'm saying? And you know, different people responded to all the different music was out. So wait. You got the knowledge from your cousin Stan from 125th Street. Okay, and what is this, Stan Allah? What Stan from 125th Street in where? See, I know what y'all thinking right now. I'm giving JPF Fallen life. That's what y'all. You see, that's one thing about being on audio and videotape. Is that, you know, you all of these kinds of things like this will be revealed. But you know, this whole live has been like that. This whole life has been that way. You know, where we've had to be complete. You know what I mean? We've had to we've had to hit all angles. Trying to see my battery power. we've had to hit all angles of these various, uh, a couple of topics that, where we had to talk about, respecting the history, and we had to talk about things that we need to do next year, right? How we going to renew the history, you know. So in this instance right here, right, I just spoke on, how we give life to people and things, and this is exactly what I mean, right? But listen, there's a method to the madness here. JPF Fallen, we're wondering about this stand. You said, is the school coming along? Okay, now in which, some things I'm not trying to be difficult, but it's with a lot of things, it's so many different angles. Oh, so Stan is short for understanding. He had his table across the street from the Apollo. And what year was that? Truth 315 said, how do you deal? How you mean? How do I deal with what? Or how do we deal with death? Not to bring up a topic. Well, you mean me as an individual, or you mean the 5%? You mean if somebody passes away that I know? Or are you talking about what is the teachings? You said all the years he's cool with True Master. What True Master? So you from Medina, but you got denounced from your cousin on 125th Street. And what year was that? So yeah, truth. See, in the 5%, right? We don't have no teachings about death. See, we life itself. And so, in all reality, us, like everybody else, we don't really know death. You know what I'm saying? Now, when somebody that you know that you close with, passes away, right? What you dealing with is that form of life is not around you no more, for you to be able to have whatever's the good experiences that you came to know and love that person. You know what I'm saying? And so yeah, you're gonna feel a sense of loss. You know what I'm saying? But we don't know death. The only thing I can tell you about the sense of loss, right, is that That's the nature of the physical world. You know what I'm saying? Just like these tectonic plates that, these wasn't always in these positions. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be constant change on this physical level. You know what I'm saying? And that's one of the changes. You said, I got the knowledge and build and destroy God. What the hell is that? So you had the knowledge in 1980. Let me finish, because this is much more important than you, right? Is that the when people pass away, right? See, this is one of the reasons why we say that the person, we don't die. See, the memory of that person's life is never gonna go away, right? So you never gonna, it's never gonna be, like a time when that's not gonna affect you. Because if the person didn't make an impact with their life on your life, you wouldn't have felt that bad about it. But what happens is, you have acute, the various pain, it becomes less acute over time. You know how if, you might get cut or something, right? You know what I'm saying? And when you first get cut, the pain is sharp. You know what I'm saying? The nerves just got, whatever happened to them. You know what I'm saying? But, within a little bit of time, you know what I'm saying, it starts to die down. You know what I'm saying? And that's positive and negative. You know what I'm saying? Where, you meet a person, you know what I'm saying, and the emotions is acute at that time. You know what I'm saying? Where, you highly, attracted to the person and everything about them is all great, you know what I'm saying? But see, over time, right, that it becomes less acute. You know what I'm saying? Emotions work that way. Somebody do something to you, right? And the anger, at that time, right? It's the emotion is very acute, it's very strong. You know what I'm saying? But then you might be telling a story about that, years later, and you laughing about how angry you was. You might even be laughing at the fact that, you shouldn't have even got angry over that. So I don't know if somebody that what I'm saying, just return to the essence, you know what I'm saying? But look, and I'm the patriarch. I've been a patriarch since the 90s. You know what I'm saying? My old earth returned to the essence. That was the last of the last. Everybody, like I know people that, their grandparents and everything is still around. You know what I'm saying? Me, nah. Grandparents, parents. A brother from the nation died. He passed away. And he was teaching you, but see, that's what I'm saying. See, it's never gonna come a day, right, when you're not gonna look at the knowledge that you have, right, and say, man, this brother was very instrumental in me getting the tools that I had, right? But look, another story, brother that taught me Return to Essence too. It's nothing is going to change that. But see, that whatever he was teaching you, see, that was that was his life right there. That he had to spend his energy, man. He had to, even analyze different things that he lived through. That he drew up that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, right? And then made it born to you. So, I hate to put I hate to put that kind of pressure on you, right? But, look, that's, you continuing to grow and elevate with this knowledge is you keeping that life, you keeping that life in existence. See, like all of us, manifesting what we manifested, right? And carrying on with these things, see, we keeping the law still in existence. See, how many people passed away in the 60s? And people still talk about, whether they saying good or bad. Like, look, I live in New York City, right? Julia TV, you from New York City, right? When the last time you heard about Mayor Lindsay? See, anybody like that, people are still manifesting about them decades later, ah, man, that's a gunshot, son. That's a fucking gunshot. I hate to change the subject real quick, but look, T-Mobile just sent me a text saying that our system is working just fine. That's grimy. That's grimy right there. But see, that's what I was saying earlier too, when I was saying that, see, once you manifest a monument or monuments or something where, nobody, no matter how you feel about it, see, you might like the 5%, you might don't like the 5%. But you can't say Allah didn't word wasn't born and he didn't build his nation. So see, anybody that you see and people talking about them decades later, see, they manifested life. You know what I'm saying? Whether you talking about Elijah, whether you talking about Noju Ali, whether you talking about Frederick Douglass, all of these people, they manifested life, right? And had an impact on life. All this time, Julia TV, I thought you was from Medina. Sharon Love said it's all real. God shows his love by manifesting the knowledge of himself through his wisdom, which shows that hell he has to go through in order to come out right. So like I said, I don't want to put pressure on you to keep this knowledge, you know, if it's not for you, it's not for you. But just, you know, even if you don't keep this knowledge, you know what I'm saying? You know, that experience, right, is still, I guess you could say that experience is still valid. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, he's still somebody who, you know, helped you with the tools that you need, you know what I'm saying, to build what you need to build. You know what I'm saying? He's still somebody who took time, you know what I mean, to help you with your growth and development. So whether that worked out or not, see, it's still individual to individual. He still treats you like a brother. JPF Fallen, don't think you off the hook. Don't go nowhere, because we trying to sort through these lies. We want to know why you not using the Prime Phoenix. Why you not using the Prime Phoenix name? Why you came in here JPF Fallen? So you lucky my battery power is down. So we about to wind this down. If I still had some more battery power, I would kick you out just so that you would come back with the other name. So is that it, man? I guess, you know, this is the last call. This is the last call for questions. You know what I'm saying? Before I gotta get back, I was over here working. So JPF Fallen. You know, I wish, where's the brother? There was one brother that used to be in here that, listen, he never forgot nothing that nobody said. And anytime somebody try to change their story, this one brother, he would be like, nah, you said this. You know, because JPF Fallen, we seem to recall that you're from Atlanta. Are you sure you're not from Atlanta? You're not from Atlanta. You're from Brooklyn. Okay. What street is the courthouse on in Brooklyn? You was born in Brooklyn, but your old earth moved away from New York when you was 4 years old. All right, then we from? Where you was born in Brooklyn, and then where you moved to? Nah, Julie TV. You know good and well this man is not from Brooklyn. Don't don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. this, he's not from no. So yeah, we moved to when you was 4 years old. See, because look, I'm gonna tell you, look, depending on what court you're talking about, of course, but look, he actually had look, I threw him a softball, son. Pause. Because you know, anytime you got a building, right, there's various streets that's around there, right? But depending on what court, look, he could have said Court Street. See, he could have just guessed. He could have just guessed. So you moved all around. Your mom was in the Air Force. Okay, so we coming back to the second question, right? Where did you get the knowledge? See, I'm gonna tell you one reason why I'm doing this, because this is one of the directions. This is this is another thing that I've seen in the time, right? Look, man. You gotta be a stand-up nigga, man. Let me just say it, right? Let me use my best French. Hey, Sir Love, did you catch that? He said he got the knowledge in 1987 from his cousin Stan from 125th Street, but he moved away when he was 4. And see, that's why I went to where I'm going. Is that, bro? Look, you can't be. He said we used to live on New York Avenue. Knowledge came from my cousin named Understanding the Law from Brooklyn as well. No, you just said he's from 125th Street. And see, look, that's why I said, see, because, I know it's not the best language, but you got to be a stand-up nigga before you can be God. And see, this is another class of motherfuckers who think they got all this knowledge. I don't give a fuck how many books you read. You're a piece of shit. And see, I ain't qualify you to disqualify you. You qualified to disqualify yourself. Like, this is it. This is it. So you can talk all this shit about you know the truth about the black man is God, but you don't know the fucking truth coming out your mouth. Or the lies. See, this is the thing about these people. See, when you really want to know who's God, see that all of that talking shit, that's what I'm saying. I've been talking for decades. We teach children how to talk all of this and know all of this. You see, how you going to build a nation with niggas like that? See, let that be a lesson. Look, my battery's almost died anyway. So let's leave on that serious note. But see, look, because and look, I'm gonna tell you something. I realized during my time that I wasn't coming on live that I was too nice in 2025. And this is why all of a sudden people saying my name. But just remember, when you really want to discern the true and living, see, don't just look at the things that they saying, look at the activities in their life. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me is you gave us 4 or 5 statements that all contradicted each other. You gave us 4 or 5 statements. So let me tell you something about, you know how they say 2 objects can't exist in the same place at the same time? A truth and a lie cannot exist in the same mouth at the same time. See, you can't make 2 statements that can't be true that's what a contradiction is. It's 2 ideas or statements that can't be true at the same time. See, and that's the key about knowing the truth. See, if I didn't have the knowledge and I didn't know, what it's like to get the knowledge and how people get the knowledge, right? Then I might have fell for that. But that's the see, when you got all these various people, right? They be saying they us. And if you just listen to them talk, sometimes they be talking a good game. See, especially when they come in with all this peace shit and peace and love, I don't fall for that bullshit. See, this password level, this password level of using peace. I don't want to hear none of that shit. You got to be able to look at the activities of a person's life. And then you got to be real with it. See, you either like this nigga or you don't. You know what I'm saying? And if you like this nigga too much, right, then him telling lies, right? And see, when you trying to fool somebody, you trying to master the original man. See, if you keep it real with yourself, right, then where do that behavior belong? Who do that behavior belong to? Or you just listening to the bullshit that come out their mouth after they say peace, because that's the password. Stop allowing, right? Stop allowing these people that's liars, right? Listen, people that you ain't never seen say nothing they be saying to nobody's face. Nobody. Not men, not women, not children. See, in other words, you've never seen their word be bond. You don't see any evidence. Look, even some people, look, they come to the rally, that's it. See, could this person stand for you to look in their refrigerator? Like if you looked in their refrigerator, would you still say they was this after you saw what was in there? See, because when you act like there's no real standards, that any behavior, it's like, God, look, it's coming to the point where somebody can come in the rally with a pork chop sandwich in this hand, a Bible in this hand, jump on the stage, pray to Catholic Jesus, and then whoever say something to him, oh yeah, see, why y'all, y'all. See, that's the stuff. What about those standards? See, everybody that got a good memory that can just regurgitate all of this stuff, man, what about those standards? What is your real equality 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? See, because it's people like that, right? It's people that they know today's mathematics because they knew they was coming to the rally. But then you want to look nowhere else and see no monuments that they be building on supreme mathematics. And see, these people have to start getting up out of here. See, because I don't need 1 million viewers. Go play someplace else. In the meantime, between time, I'm going to sign off and say peace. You know what I'm saying? And we'll be back on soon.